man. How's it going? I am way ahead of the game, man. Doing I'm not doing Death Hope. I've said it a billion times already. But no matter how much I say it, 10 years down the road, people can still ask me if I'm doing it. I know you guys mean well, and you're probably out of the loop. But, when I've been asked like a billion times, it's kind of just getting sick and tired of it. Yeah. I'll actually be releasing a audio book type thing this year. Get a voice actor to do it. It'll give you a little glimpse into a very small part of this universe I'm creating. Thanks, Beavis. So much detail into your pieces. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to bring back old fantasy because no one gives a shit anymore. You know. I want you to be able to feel like you can jump into a picture and just kind of imagine yourself there. Like it's not just oh hey, here's some characters and some background that represent a certain area. No, it's more like here's some characters and a background with everything that is relevant to the lore going on in the background. You know, merchants, creatures, types of wildlife, animals. You know, you name it. Um, and it'll be all packaged into a book. So, and there will be cinematic trailers of specific events that happen during certain timelines to help promote it. So it'll be interesting. But part of the thing that makes this fulfilling is I don't need Warhammer to prove a point. You know, I'll make my own damn universe and show how it's done, I guess. I don't know. Fuck. Do you know about speculative evolution? Are you talking about like zoology stuff? Someday I hope to see a cut together sequence of all your talks on your art where you want to go with it. Deep from a design philosophy. Yeah. Like for example, look, this trail that I'm doing in the back here, this isn't some, random trail. Um, you know, what's happening below, is the fate of what he will become. Um, the 6 characters above are the different classes that exist within the tribe. And then as you follow the lines down, you are then assigned to a specific god in a specific region. And as you follow that down, you are assigned to, you are gifted a gift of that god, and then below it is the possible fate you have. And the altar itself is signifies rebirth. So they are like within this altar are leaders of their tribe who are being cooked alive, and these leaders are extremely knowledgeable about their culture. And to be put into this furnace-like thing is to symbolize you are putting your past behind you, and you are walking forth a new path. So that's what this path here is for, is once you go through the ritual, you walk down this path, and you become part of their city. You become part of their collective. And everything about you is gone. So that's the kind of shit I'm talking about. Just a picture, right? Like, you know, everything has a purpose in this picture. It's not just random shit, you know. But anyway, that's the kind of stuff that I'm trying to bring out into the modern world, because we've just kind of lost touch with that kind of shit. I'm just drawing the ground here. Because while you may feel like you end up rambling, sometimes there is something deeper there, something very important, where you talk about old artists when you talk about creating history. Oh, yeah. Oh, I guess I just said that. Sorry, I'm not up to date with what's going on with Games Workshop. Yeah, we're not talking about Warhammer. Games Workshop. So, yeah, you guys can talk about that. I'm done with talking about it. I've even posted like a message up, and it's still not getting through. So I'm kind of done with explaining what's going on with the other vote. I'm not trying to be a dick, but it's just like you know, I've heard it like a billion times, this question. So I went from a million to a billion, but it feels like that anyway. Um, I'll just kind of let the chat fill in if they want to step in, and just tell them, as they've already been doing. So appreciate that. Can I get a quick full view of the piece you're working on real quick? You'll have to rewind. I did that as like a little teaser, but full resolution will be on Patreon. So, but these kind of streams kind of help me uh, get a bit further, because now I'm like, I have to concentrate because I have to perform. But it's there. I mean, I'm not. You can rewind and you'll see it. It's there, but. Yeah, most of the story will be in the book that I'll be releasing. So for what I share on the internet will be kind of just little pieces here and there, but to get the full story, you'll have to pick up the book. All right, where am I? Let me know if the music's too loud. Planning on keeping it monochrome. Yeah, well, the thing is, like, right, some pictures reflect better as black and white, especially if it's like a setting like this. There will be a colored section, but maybe like 1 or 2 pages of the entire book. This is here. Selection right now too. I know what I wanted, but not. I wasn't saying I wasn't. Is it digging it black and white? I'm loving this so far to keep it black and white for consistency. Yeah. Well, the whole book is supposed to reflect old fantasy books. So it's just part of the style too, right? With the finished Death of Hope years away since he had to teach himself animation. He could do better. He had his own ideas for his own. Keep on taking downward. Well, to be honest, they haven't really taken down anything. People have just kind of been scared with what's going on. They haven't really done anything legally, except for that one little copyright thing I think they did on something minis. I forgot what channel it was, but I think that was like the only thing really. I expected something on a starter's level. Well, I think what you also need to look at too is that it's an entire team now, right? So what you liked about Astartes was about the artist himself. So when you have other people, it kind of takes away from all of it, you know? But if you're looking just for like straight up action, um, you know, my IP has a lot of it, but at the same time, it's not what it's all about. And I'm going to be structuring it to be fulfilling to the people who are very invested in it. And strike curiosity in people to want to get into it and want to know more beyond just flying bullets, which, quite frankly, I'm kind of sick and tired of. I mean, yeah, I love action as well, but fuck, that's not why we're geeks, man. Expect something. No, not you, Mark. I mean, like GW. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know. The strike on Midwinter Gaming was overturned. Yeah, I know. Yeah, looking good. I am hyped to see more about this University Yard based art and the story of the will evolve in. You know what sucks too? What I had prepared for Death of Hope was the level of what I was doing with this. And it sucks because it's all in the background and all was produced was just a moving image, but it just there's a lot of work put behind it and a lot of things that were leaning off a lot of the lore. So if you didn't know what was going on, you kind of had to catch up on it. But when you did catch up on it, like a lot of people did, when they started reading some stuff and they started realizing where exactly, the tropes were coming from, or they enjoyed it tenfold. It really gives back to people who put an effort to get invested. That's what this is. So just as detailed as my artwork is from afar, it also speaks volumes to the lore that I'm putting into it. It's just as fucking huge. Huge, complicated, and it's got a lot of, each race has its own thing going on, and I'll be covering every planet's, like I said before, animals, regions. I'll be doing, I'll be drawing maps and stuff of, different planets and the subterranean maps of the Silithics and, where they're, how everything is structured within their society. For example, where the Sahewl slaves are, where the Sahewl Muctgar are located. So, and the different visions they have. And this is just a bunch of shit. So what's cool about this lore book is that all the stuff that sometimes I just kind of run out of breath explaining, the lore book will have it all. I'll be able to put all that shit in there, and then you can just look into it yourself, and I can just say, oh, just go with that. Because honestly, I do want to share a lot about the universe, but it's just better when I've written it down and it's more thought out versus me kind of always describing one thing 5 different ways, Let's talk about. Would rather get into the model stuff more, but I ain't paying for them. Yeah, I'm afraid that it's moving away from Grimdark. Well, it's been doing that already, but Name 3 languages you find difficult to learn. Anything other than English. So, fuck. I don't know. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you this though. The language I made for the Sathus and the Sahewl Muctgar are fucking complicated. Like I had a hard time trying to myself as a creator configure their language into sentences. It was, and it's written in a way where you can't just take the alphabet and line it up like English. It's there's different subtext in it. It's just there's a lot of nuances in its language. It's really, yeah. You missed it then. It was a while back. I remember watching stuff getting deleted. I've been on it just for 4 months now. How long have you been working on this project? How long I've been working on this project? I guess um, the past month, I'd say. But the overall idea has been brewing for several years during the process of Death of Hope. So it's not like it's just come out of nowhere. It's always been in the back of my mind, and I finally get to commit to it instead of, because if I finish Death of Hope, I'm not doing this. I will not have the energy to do anything else. So it's a blessing that I'm able to do this, because the energy Death of Hope takes from me is enough to retire from doing any of that kind of shit for the rest of my life. Like, that's how much fucking work goes into Death of Hope. And if I can do this where my vision is not overshadowed by something that was brought to life that's not mine, that's even better, you know? Everything that I wanted to do with Death of Hope, was to prove a point in pulling the person into the world that they're watching. When I do the part 2 stream, Death of Hope part 2 stream, and basically what that is I'm going to be like kind of sitting and talking about what was going to happen in part 2 exactly for people who've been waiting for it, and kind of show like work in progress videos that I was putting together already so that it can kind of help tie up the story in people's minds. And it was supposed to tie part 1. Um, you know, part 1 was like just the beginning, and then part 2 was supposed to actually tie everything together. For those who were still lost in what was going on anyway. He made languages. Yeah, so every single race here has a language. Even the Silithics have their own language, apart from the Muctgar, which is the race above them. And when they convert them to the Sahewl Muctgar, they actually have a combined language that would help bridge the 2 races, because of the mutations and just the knowledge from both sides. Um, and um, since they're human descendant, and follow the old pattern of human language, current humanity can kind of translate the Muctgar's language from the Silithics to kind of understand what they're thinking. Unfortunately, that's the extent of what they can do. They can't decipher any further because it's a really complex language that's ever changing. It's really complicated. But with the Russian subtitles, I laughed and cried terribly. You still have to manage to make such a translation. Yeah. Well, those translations weren't done by me. They were done by the community. They were either done by the community or they were auto-generated by YouTube. I didn't touch the language stuff. I made Death of Hope. That's hard work enough. No, the name for the weapon's already been made. And it couldn't be Star of Torment. Like, the names that I do, they have to make some kind of sense, right? So, for example, let me find it here. Where are you? There it is. Yeah, it's called Heart of Korra. And the reason being is it's literally wielding the might of the planet that Migulite was found in. And when you hit somebody with it, you are literally delivering the force of the element itself. And not to mention, it also serves as a lance. There's an energy there's energy that comes out from the tip, which is basically represents the heat in which Migulite was birthed. So that's why it's called the Heart of Korra. Not to mention, Migulite is found deep within the planet, near the core. So it makes more sense to say heart and then of the planet. So the weapon is an embodiment of the planet it came from. That's the kind of thought process I put into the names that go into this. I do hope that you guys, when it releases, you enjoy the book, though. It's a really big universe, and like the stories in it span thousands of years apart, if not hundreds of thousands. So it's pretty crazy. Uh, oh, what are you guys talking about? With Goodwill? Oh, you mean like GW? My thought was it was a unique weapon. Well, even if it is a unique weapon, it has to reflect the wielder itself. There's different names for the weapons, especially throughout time. When I say like hundreds of years or thousands of years, I'm talking like the trilobites were named different things throughout history, based on the impact they had on the people that they were um, either attacking or whatever. But their first names, when they were released, were like X009 trilobite something something, right? Like they were like, it was like a factory name, and over time it grew, and over time it developed its own name that people feared and stuff. But the name trilobite is actually derived from the fact that it represents the fossils we have here, trilobite. Not It doesn't have three lobes, but it does have three sections on the upper part of its body, which separate certain internal functions. When separated, they serve different things. Not to mention, when they're not in use, they are actually buried deep within the Earth or whatever planet they are on, to prevent the concentrations of radiation killing, whoever's there, whoever whatever planet they're on. Oh, I'm running out of breath though. Fuck. I get it. The lore book will be great. No, sorry. I just like sharing it because fuck it sucks because like I'm still in the process of creating it. It's just that it's just gonna have to wait, so it'll be kind of unknown for a while. Talking across. I see people are used to talking across the languages. No. Oh wait, I guess you're talking about something else. Can we English? Oh, you guys are talking about something else. Yeah, you're able to speak with. Well, it's always the dangerous ones that you have dozens of names and feared throughout the ages. Yeah. Have two trilobites ever gone head to head? No, because they are carefully not throughout the history, but with the cinematic, there will be something similar to that. But the dwarven race on Korra, they only specific sections of humanity are allowed them because they're so dangerous. So it's not like they just give them out willy-nilly. I know, yeah. Oh, it's fine. You guys can talk. Sometimes I just didn't know whether or not we were on the same subject. It's kind of funny. Look at that, and that's just to the side too. Yeah. I have to make this look like it's underneath because it's kind of weird. There you go. Now it looks like it's underneath. Not too bright there. Thanks, man. Why majority of you picture is darker than the rest when you zoom out? Oh, that's just because I'm kind of hiding that from, I have to like save something for people who have invested in it, right? So there's this thing up here too. This will be I'll start on this. This is fun. You know what? I'll do the surrounding elements first, so I can better ground it to the ceiling or to the wall. Yeah, keep up the good work. Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm doing my best here, but I want to be able to leave behind something that people can enjoy and hopefully will never get ruined. Because it will whatever this turns into, it will remain a quote-unquote family business. Um, you know, and in that way it'll always be protected. But just like the lore I wrote for humanity, sometimes lineage destroys empires. Just because you pass away doesn't mean your family is to be trusted. Because they didn't build it like you. They didn't have the same heart as you doing it. So until we get there, we'll see what happens. It's funny, since I'm making this for um, it's kind of focused towards like the older crowd of appreciating like old fantasy works. I almost um, went with the idea of like to get the miniatures, you have to like use there's like a what is it? There's like little ads in the back of the book, and then you have to like just pay for shipping, and then the miniature will be shipped out to you. Oh man, I remember doing that with certain toys back in the day. That was fun, but it took forever to get in the mail. Like for me, anyway. Oh man, fight sleepiness. A very stable thing here. All right, so let's see how this shit. What's cool is these web-like structures in the back. Um, I'm pointing at my computer screen. On the far right, those pillar-like things. Um, so a lot of the cave systems are held together by. So there's these worms of different sizes, and the kind of like a silkworm, but like they basically their webbing. Once they've created whatever foundation they need, um, over time the proteins in there begin to expand and they begin to calcify. So um, they become mineralized over time, and they become these either walls or structures, just kind of help bond together certain things. The Silithics took that to their advantage and built uh, massive cave systems and just burrows and just nests using that species. Mail order catalogs make a comeback in 2020. Yeah, yeah, mail order catalogs. Oh, I don't know. It's definitely just like a nostalgic thing. People would hate that nowadays, but I would fucking do it because it kind of made them almost exclusive in a way. Like they were made in a limited number sometimes, and sometimes I guess they were like made to order, really. Um, you know, and waiting for the mailman to deliver that package was like the best thing ever, man. I mean, at the time when I was doing it, I wasn't uh, before 1998. I didn't. I mail ordered different things, kind of like fantasy stuff, and I wasn't Warhammer just yet. But I didn't have to really mail order Warhammer because there was a shop already, so um, I just went there. A birdie on the crack you made. Can't unsee that now. Oh, do you see something? Yeah, you see something there? Well, with enough detail on a surface, you can see just about anything, really. I probably accidentally did Jesus somewhere. You know what made it hard for Death of Hope was, you know, uh, when you do something like that, it's a marathon. Um, but can you imagine you're fighting for something that you believe in, and to others, it's a level of you kind of look ridiculous, fanatic in a way, and but then sometimes your mind about what you're passionate about changes. Like it's not the same as it. I was already like I already had thoughts and stuff before I did Death of Hope. I didn't do it because I wanted to create a horror heresy. I did it because I I wanted to bring something out that would otherwise not be shown in the future, and at least I was able to show just a tablespoon of what I was gonna do with it. But at least part one was grim dark in many flavors. You know, um, what are you talking about? I remember the picture you're talking about, the hand drawn stuff. Um, the C shape at the edge is the beak. Oh, are you talking about this? Like if I did this? Let me know if this is what you're thinking. This is the wing. This is the head, I guess. I don't know. When you said bird, that's what I saw. So kind of similar to that, or is it the shape above it where it's kind of like, and then you have like a, I don't know. Oh shit. So when I do these, I kind of like I play around with it. So I'll lay down some like gray color like that, and then what I'll do is I'll use the dodge or burn tool, and that basically brings out highlights or shadows. And I just kind of I use that instead of going to paintbrush and going between black and white. It just makes it so much easier. The drawing reminds me of the college, the same order. Yeah, let's see. Wall bird, no, right at the edge of the wall. Same C. Oops. Oh, well, it's there, and as long as you can see it. Otherwise, I'm not going to get anything done. Also, with my style of drawing, there's no specific light direction, if you've noticed. Like, what I've noticed about, what I want to show in my work is that sometimes I'll follow, like, a lighting direction. Like, I went to school, so I've been taught, like, the lighting theories and all that shit. I'm not gonna lie, I slept during some of those. um, but no, it wasn't just that it was just more like if I follow a lot of lighting techniques that they use in the industry, I'm hiding a lot of things. So I kind of make everything, obviously when it's needed, I'll do some lighting effects. Like for example, here I'll show this part. So you have this like torch up here, and it's some of that light is going onto this guy, this worm, and down here you have these candles, and they're reflecting onto the brick behind it, and even the webbing up here above it. So stuff like that. My direction though is for the oh shit, I showed the whole thing. Well, fuck it, you guys already saw it. But anyways, well, there's not much. There's only 13 of you guys watching from the looks of it, so it's not like it's a big deal showing you stuff. If it was like 200 people, then I'd be I think more conservative with showing you stuff. So This guy only work on this guy still working on the Hope. Jesus Christ, man! What do you do for a living? I'm a level artist, so I create levels, and I create environments for video games and stuff. Like I'll make everything in low proxy meshes um, that fit a certain silhouette, or like let's say in some projects, like when I worked at the Coalition, um, what I would do is, if I had a concept or an idea in mind, I would just like do a quick sketch and then do a model based on that sketch and the shape. And then I would get references in real life that might be similar to that model, package it in a file, and send it off so that the modeler gets back to me with a professional polished model. And for me, my job is to um, create the space. Take garbage or boxes or cans or tables or cables, wires, you name it, even the ground, walls, ceiling. Sometimes I'll model certain things, and I just create the space. I create stories within the space. Like, for example, if you go by a table, you can kind of see, oh, someone was recently here smoking a cigarette, or they just finished their food, or oh, these guys took takeout, or maybe it looks like they need to leave in a hurry, so you have some of the chairs tipped over, some of the stuff looked like maybe a guy's coffee mug tipped over, or maybe the guy got shot, so you'd have like and the body was moved, so you'd have like a bullet hole in the wall behind the chair, maybe a broken chair leg, and then blood on the floor leading to a closet, showing that that's what happened to that person. So stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff that I do for work. They call that level artist. Sometimes they call it world builder, but there's different names for it in the industry. I'm gonna need some. I should have got some water before I sat down. I'm talking a lot. Oh shit. So that's why I'm very invested in world design. And that's why I push for it a lot when it comes to, those animations and stuff like that. Because I'm not trying to shit on anybody, okay? I'm not trying to shit on anybody. But when you look at a lot of animations out there, outside of Warhammer, let's say, outside of Warhammer, like almost a lot of animations, there's a lot of, no one gives a shit about the environment. You'll put a bunch of robots fighting in a forest or something. And so long as those robots are there, you know what universe it is. But let's say you take those characters out. Let's say you take the Star Wars characters out of some of those fan mates. You look like you're in Greenland. Maybe because most of that stuff was scanned and then thrown together, and it doesn't look like a Star Wars universe. It just looks like a place you'd find here. Whereas for Death of Hope, I literally crafted everything so that when you took the Space Marines out of it, you could still say that's Warhammer. That you know what universe that's in. That's what I was doing with Death of Hope. It was really hard to translate that when a lot of people are focused on the animations, but at least some people thought they were like getting drawn in by the atmosphere. I think that's what shined the most. I hope for those people. So, because for me, the atmosphere is fucking important in any kind of fantasy or role playing that you get into, and that's how we get sucked into it, right? And if like, fuck. And it's the same thing for here. I mean, I don't know when you guys came in, but like, yeah, when I'm looking at this image, right? I told you the story behind this. I'm almost out of breath here, so I'm not going to say the whole thing again. But basically, like, this pathway is for after you've done your ritual. Like you go to the promised land in their, this is their culture's quote unquote promised land, the walkway to their heaven, which is back there. It's more of a hell, but I guess it's all about perspective. work you have to put into your work to be really immersed into a world is really remarkable. What is the thing that you are the most proud of? I think the thing I'm most proud of is, um, especially with this stuff, is being able to encompass all my skills into an IP that just kind of like show what I'm capable of doing as a creative, as an artist, as a world builder, and as a storyteller. I'm no writer, but I have ideas. And what I do is I write them out. Like they're my stories. It's my writing, and then I pass them off to somebody to refine. Not so much change the lore, change the way things are done, but more like, like grammar and shit like that. I mean, you've seen my subtitles. For fuck's sake, they're so bad. Like the spelling and shit. It's almost like for every release I had, you can kind of look for an Easter egg of a spelling mistake I did. Care about the environment, they are just shallow. Well, that's the thing too. Like, there's different types of fans, right? But for me, what I'm trying to do is reach out to the people who really get immersed into an image. I know that's not everybody, but for me, it's just kind of like, for us who do that, we're kind of starved of that. So this is kind of like, for them. I mean, I can't fault my girlfriend's like that. She just wants, she wants to get straight to the point. Uh, that's totally fine. So she has that, she gives me that perspective. Um, the other side of the spectrum balances me out in that way. Yeah, environment is dead in most games. Fallout had the environment covered. Some people don't care. It's a shame that your work is in majority skipped by usual game users. Cyberpunk made me so happy with its environment. I didn't care about the problems it had. That's the thing too, right? Like how sometimes it's all about the immersion, right? Is this game like detailed enough that I can separate myself from the story and be like maybe role play myself walking down this? I used to fucking do this all the time, and I guess that kind of reflects what I'm doing here as a geek is just getting into the whole role playing aspect of it, I guess. To be able to jump into a place and kind of create your own story. Actually, the less people see your work, the better work you have done. I'm not even worried about. That's easy to say, but Hoth in Star Wars is just a few drives away from me. That's awesome. That's the thing, right? It's not all about. It's not 100% bad to have little in your environment that represent that universe, but for the mass majority of media doing it, you kind of have to have a balance there. Like, it's like oversaturating the industry with a specific mindset. And so, I'm taught that less is more, and that is true. Less is more. But for me, in my personal time, more is more. And I guess that's just an artisan way of looking at things. And artisans are basically dead because there's just no money to be made in it. So that's just the unfortunate thing. Oh, by the way, hey, Eschton, and that's funny. I've seen you like many times already. Start acknowledging people who have been here for like ever. I meant in the game scene. Well, I think for video games, they have more of an obligation to express their world because they mostly have to create those environments. But yeah, if you look at it as like at a very deep level, how much of it is fantasy, and it's just kind of like sometimes there's too much realism. For example, what's that new Star Wars game? It's like the present time period or something, and they're being the Jedi are being hunted down by these um, lightsaber wielding Inquisitors or whatever. Um, Someone can probably tell me. But anyways, I looked at some of the when I was looking at someone's playthrough, and I was looking at the environments. So it's a sci-fi, right? So I'm looking through the environments, and I'm looking at the machinery that some of these aliens have, or some of these other planets have. And I'm just like, where is the influence of the culture of the planet that has these machines? Some of the machines, they look like they are from uh, sci-fi assets from 2010. Those industrial assets that have certain shape to them that if you put them from every video game into one scene, they all look the same. You know what I mean? Um, I think EA had some of that going on with their stuff, where a lot of their sci-fi stuff, the design that they do, they're cool, but they all look the same. Like over time, their mechs and all they all look the same. Titanfall 2 is actually pretty good. I really liked what they did with it, with the story and everything. They actually worked on the story. Star Wars used to have that. They got into the prequels, trying to put different cultures into designs. I really admire your skill to be able to put your idea from head into picture. I think it would be to draw something as detailed as your work. My overall idea would change 1,000 times. Well, some roughly when I have an idea, I have about roughly 2 hours of vivid hold on that idea. And then after that, yeah, it changes like you said. So, but it's not always for the worse. Um, for example, here, the reason why I'm able to just go at it with this is because I've already laid the groundwork for this type of aesthetic. Somewhere over here. Yeah, here. So this is what it's going to end up looking like. And so I was able to do that within like an hour or 30 minutes to an hour. And by doing that, I have a benchmark now. So I just kind of do that everywhere else because, that's just this material or whatever. I never make these live streams. Hey, Red Wolf. Every time I look at the details I see in your work, makes you wander in thought process. The orbital rings across the Sathus and the partial Dyson sphere and the early arts of the Gothic architecture. So the Gothic architecture was a mix of, because I was in the transition process, right? So there are Warhammer-esque looking things due to that process. But now everything moving forward is going to be completely my own. And what I've had to do is incorporate all that hard work I did with those assets and try to cater. So what's cool about my IP is that every major story happens within thousands of years or hundreds of thousands of years. So what I'm able to do with the assets I created was put them in a specific time period that would actually have that aesthetic. So that's the way I would be able to put that in there. However, I am trying to move away from the Gothic design because my own designs, they're not completely Gothic. They're more, they're fantasy, but not Gothic, but more Cthulhu-esque and Geiger-esque, kind of, I like architecture. I like the Gothic architecture like everybody else, That's just a thing. It's just that now that I'm doing my own thing, I try to not copy that design, and that wasn't the purpose in the beginning, because like I said, I was in the transition process between this and Death of Hope, right? That's kind of the reason behind why those things kind of looked gothic. But I will be changing the appearance of the civilian dress code and stuff like that, and just make it further away from that setting. I will say though, it'll still be dark and it'll still be grim. In that in the very definition that we understand it, just not, just in a different, setting. He seems to draw an initial sketch and then layer and erase over it as he refines it. So what I do is, let's see if I hide enough layers here that I can get away with. Okay, I'm just going to hide certain layers. I draw line work. So what I do with paper is I'm really, I love line art. So when I do it in Photoshop, I can kind of just take it and go. But because I have muscle memory with drawing, the transition to Photoshop was kind of seamless. It kind of took me like a month to get used to the handling of the pen, but over time it turned out. But I usually just draw the outline. Sorry, one sec. I got off topic again. Where's the damn thing here? Okay, here. So this was the base of this guy. And actually, where I got his pose from, because I thought of the pose in my mind, and I'm not somebody who's good with, like, human anatomy is a character artist thing. I didn't start off as a character artist, so this is like I'm learning this shit on the fly here. So I look at muscle diagrams and stuff. Proteus from that movie Attack on Titan, was it? Attack on Titan. He had his arm poisoned, and in my head I was thinking about the character of the Muctgar changing, and he would have his. I just wanted to have like a good shot of someone doing this, right? And I even took pictures of myself of doing stuff like, and then trying to draw over and stuff. It wasn't working out. But when I remember Proteus getting poisoned in his arm. I was like, maybe that might be a good shot. So I skipped over to that scene, paused it, and when he was about to grab his arm like this, that's basically what he was doing in the scene here. He's going to grab his arm like this, and I just kind of took that silhouette, drew over it, beefed it up with muscle, and just kind of did it from there. And the other figures in there, I also used references of like other pictures and stuff of bodybuilders and stuff like that, and then I would add my own thing to it, not trace it, but more like use it as reference, so that at least when I'm drawing it, I can make it in a way that's kind of unique, because I can make his instead of having his arm locked like this, it can be the other way around, or in this case they have one eye, or either big head or wider shoulders, whatever, stuff like that. But after the line work is done, I do some shading stuff, like for example shadow. This is basically the end result, but like light. So I try to do 3-point lighting. This is more natural for this scene, but I did rim lighting behind him to kind of like separate him from the people behind him. And if I zoom in here, you get to see like all hair and stuff like that. Like, this is the kind of shit I love doing. You know, when I say I don't like animating, it's because I prefer this. Like, come on, right? Like, some people are like, oh, why do you, to me, Death of Hope was a necessity. It was something that needed to exist in a time where we all saw what was going to happen with the IP. So that's why. But I didn't do it because I wanted to. It's because no one else was going to fucking commit to what I was going to do to it. But this is what I prefer doing. This 2D illustration stuff. This is where I jam. Fuck, I talk a lot, don't I? Jesus. Alright, see. Alright. I gotta get caught up here. Fuck. Where did I leave off? Every time I took the details of Okay, Naboo, love those smooth curves. Cody drives like triangular ships. Calamari, like organic bumpy ships. Yeah, can you share initial sketch? Okay, I did that. He seems to draw an initial sketch. Yep. Evolution, when the universe throws the same problems at life, don't be surprised when you go to another planet. You find similar solutions to the same problems. I love Geiger. I have his... I don't know, man. What Clark was talking about for Space Odyssey, you find similar solutions to the same problems. Because when you look at sci-fi and the way they've written them, especially back then, is they've humanized every planet and species to a point where they're so relatable that, yeah, you could essentially, in that universe, solve every problem the same way. But how do you solve a problem where your issue is a planet is orbiting around a sun, which would within 3 days spinning like crazy, and the atmosphere is just so violent that it's raining molten metal, or an atmosphere that the metal isn't molten but it's fucking like shards of steel rain is just fucking going, is just like going the other direction, right? Like that, like alien planets are they're not. It sucks because we don't venture into that a lot. We just kind of say, okay, this planet is, it's tame, nothing going on with it. For Sathus, they actually have to live in these bubbles in the cities because it's not habitable per se, but they're invested in the resources of the planet. Not only the resources of the planet, but the local sun too, because the suns in this sector are possess a lot of energy. This is like a fresh system, so there's a lot of debris and stuff, and the stars are fresh, but there's a lot of energy to be had in this sector, which is why they went there in the first place. Holy fuck! Now I'm just catching up with all the comments. Create your universe. They may look like other styles, but it's what you make for your universe. Any similarities are because they are based on necessity of realism. Yeah, and I'm not saying everything I do is original. I'll say, I can say here and say, oh, to me personally, there's a creature that's original, but subconsciously, I might have pulled it from various sources. We all know that. Geiger biomech without the mech looks like to me not pipes but sinew and arteries. Yeah, touch of Kronberg. I can add some disgusting color in my mind. I'm sure you can. If I had to pull a similarity of the pose, it's Space Adventure, Cobra, old anime, and a bioweapon arm. Well, it's not just their arm that's a bioweapon. Their entire body becomes a bioweapon. And like for example, the shields that they have are bioweapons. The axes they have are bioweapons. The swords are bioweapons. The guns are bioweapons. Because the Silithics, they actually the Sahewl Gahoth, they have envisioned humanity's approach. The creatures with two eyes, and the Muctgar are descendants of humanity. So because the Silithics and the Sahewl Gahoth are not, they don't have opposable thumbs and all that. They're not able to create certain things. So through the Muctgar, they're able to create specific type of tools, spacecraft, weapons of war, just stuff that would be similar to what humanity would make, combined with their own natural ingredients of, their own war stuff. The universe is at least galaxy-wide, but I remember him saying he wanted to focus on these races. Yeah, basically. Humanity is the big dick in this fucking universe. Like they're the assholes. They are the dominant force in the galaxy. There's different subhuman categories. Right now humanity is having a hard battle with their orc counterpart. So the orcs in mine, like I said, the universe has been seeded by early humanity, and the orcs are a version of humans that have just kind of they've been consumed by brutality, anger, and all that other stuff. And their technology is almost equal to that of greater humanity, so they're actually really fucking hard to fight, especially, and also the orcs, they've kind of separated themselves from combining their bodies with technology. So there's that too. So humanity looks at them as disgusting because they represent a very primitive, organic version of themselves. The Armis thing is like a parasite transforming larva, right? Yeah. So the larva will transform based on proteins that the host is force-fed, and that will determine what it mutates into. I know you know that. I'm just telling everyone else. Could have a war inside that could rival the war in heaven in 40K. It would be hard to warp your head around such a thing. Well, that's the thing too. Is they're a tier 3 civilization, so just the war would be godlike already. Magic does exist. Supernatural things in Sathus. Magic exists, but there's no, it doesn't directly tell you in the lore that I write that gods exist or not. The entities, the Sahewl Muctgar, the Sahewl Gahoth, they are a Cthulhu-esque type of creature or creatures, and not a single one has ever been found. All they know is that through carvings and pictures, they have seen the things that these Sahewl Muctgar worship, and they look like deities, gods, right? So, and not to mention, in the deeper lore of Sathus, like going into the nitty-gritty of everything that's involved, the stars in the sector Sathus resides in are actually sentient, and so naturally, you would have a lot of sun worshippers, and so they believe them to be gods. I'm not saying that there is gods and there isn't. It's up to the reader to establish that based on what the people in it are experiencing. Humans are the Eldars, I get it. No. Uh, I don't like elves. No way. I guess in a sense, yeah, based on how they view other creatures and shit. Um, the trope of elves being, oh, we're too wise for you, or we retreat into nature and you're just destroying everything, and we know more, we live longer, all that shit. uh, yeah, humanity sent out colony ships with genetic adapting tech. Yeah, that's basically what happened. I think we fell into the darkest hole in geek internet. You're witnessing the birth of a new sci-fi universe. Can you expand on those civilization tiers? What are your particular levels? No, like if you look up, it'll go in depth for you better than, because I don't have. It can explain it better than you can. Basically, a tier 3 civilization. If you just Google it up, like tiers of civilizations or something. A tier 3 civilization is they're immune to extinction, virtually immune to extinction. If a comet came towards their planet, they could move the planet. They could control the weather. They can control their sun. They harness primarily their energy from their stars. Um, they're at like a godlike level, basically. Often you see humans in a shitty position as an underdog. Well, in this universe, no, they are the predominant assholes, and they're and all the sub races, they're still human, but they've been so far removed for so long that they have basically become their own thing, like Scout has been saying. Scale is called the Kardashian scale, I think. Yeah, something like that. It's old, from decades ago. Theoretical measuring scale for tech levels. Yeah. I mean, it's been a while since I've read it. I should read it again, considering what I'm doing, but the thing is, they're already at tier 3, so I don't really have to go any further than that. But do FTL exist in Sathus, where their ships have to travel across the void of space slower than the speed of light? So they're able to travel quickly, but the thing is, so there's different levels of travel, and each civilization is given knowledge on each level of travel, because not every civilization, as we know, grows at the same pace. And some of that technology is not available in certain parts of the solar system, so they can't just, put warp drives in every single ship, because that technology actually needs to come from somewhere. So there's different, like, for example, one of their early stages of travel was stargates, which would use the gravity around that solar system with the stars and everything, all the pull, and focus it into the stargate, which would connect to another stargate. It would propel them across vast distances. For Sathus, however, after greater humanity had fled, that technology kind of went with them, along with their knowledge, and it degraded over time. So the Sathus that the cinematic will take place in, they travel without that stuff. They have a Stargate, but it only goes one way. It only goes to Noctos. And then from Noctos to Krekenok, they have to go slow. And to go back to Sathus, they have to go slow. The reason they have a Stargate from Sathus to Noctos is because Sathus is actually what was it called? Sathus is actually traveling behind Noctos. The whole thing about the universe expanding. So to get to one place is easy, but to go back is almost impossible because of the galaxy constantly moving. So they actually have a Stargate, specifically for Sathus because of that. They can travel back to Sathus, but to get to Noctis, they have to have a Stargate. Does that make sense? Getting really nerdy here about it, but they control energy output of their planet. Or do you mean they don't have the parts to make new pieces of some kind of propulsion, so they have to pull it from other stuff and reuse it? I have no mouth, and I must scream. No, okay. So what I mean is they build their ships ready for this type of thing, and when they go to a new planet, as that planet grows, the resources they send to that planet, it won't have enough to give every ship that technology. They actually have to, once it reaches a certain level, where they can now use that technology to synchronize with it, that's when they order it, so they have to fucking send their order in, and then Canada Post shows up after several thousand years. Because the thing is, humanity can get to places really quickly, but depending on where you are in their known universe, sometimes it'll take a really fucking long time. I have to bend my mind, but it makes sense. There's a lot of real science put into it, but obviously a lot of it I've just kind of twisted to make my own thing with it. Oh my god, my fucking throat hurts, man. Do I have water here? Nope. That dried out long ago. Fuck, I just sat there and spoke forever. Yeah, so when you're comparing it to Warhammer, there is no comparison, because they would just kind of annihilate anything in 40k. So a lot of the weapons that they use is to fight other subhuman races that were from the seeding project of early man. Yeah, every time you mention Twisted Science, I can't help but bring a nuclear walking spiky RTG, perpetual irradiator, torpedo, metal, golem, guards of doom. Yeah, the trilobites, yeah. I know they're super OP, but I had to make them, man. It's been like one of those things I wanted to do for a while. But the thing is, right? They may be OP, but there's different ways of attacking them. For example, with the Silithics, they didn't understand what the fuck they were facing because they saw humanity coming, but the Sahewl Gahoth didn't know about trilobites, right? They weren't that, they didn't have that much foresight, and they threw swarms at the trilobites, and the swarms kept dying upon reaching them. So what they did to solve the problem was to immobilize them first and then sink them into the ground into acid pools, which would all and the acid pools would also act as like it would prevent the radiation from affecting their race. But the Silithics, they decided to get one of their creatures that, when it dies, it calcifies, so it just hardens, it just turns to rock. Now, if you were to immediately harden rock around a trilobite, it can just move its arm and break it. But with enough of those things swarming onto it, eventually you just had this mound, and it was just really hard for them to move. So it was just a mound of rock. And, if you left the mound like that, they would eventually walk out of it. But it slowed them down enough that they were able to dig holes beneath the trilobites and then sink them into the ground. So, there's ways of disposing of them. They're not super OP as long as you know how to approach one. Um, And they literally know no fear, because they are the AI extension of what they once were as human beings, and by having the AI entombed into a trilobite, there's no organics. There's nothing to fear, really, because to the AI, they've already died once already, and to lose their body is just like, fuck it, whatever. Every time you goes to they were super OP, but I had to make them, said the dwarves to the mother who kids ignore the warning signs and want. Yeah, I'm trying to work in an original universe, but my talent is more towards the word instead of pen. It is about a colony in a rogue planet without a sun, and humanity fighting to survive. Oh, dude, like that's the thing too, right? Like, we all have our strengths, so if you're a writer, you can always get someone else to do the other stuff. For me, I'm not a writer, and what I end up doing is I'll write the story out, and then I'll get a ghost editor to go over my work and kick out all the crap that I didn't pay attention to in English class. But, like that old saying, right? The pen is mightier than the sword, Just because I can do this stuff. Just use your skill set, man. That's what you're doing. That's just enough. I mean, to create your own IP, you need that anyway to write, to create stories. There we go. That is my idea. Yeah. Makes me think of a more sci-fi frostpunk. I like the no sun thing. It's like that's kind of terrifying, being a species that is used to having a sun over us, and then in a situation where you're kind of shit out of luck. And the strange thing is too, like when you're born on those kind of places, you don't even know. If you've never seen a sun, it wouldn't bother you as much as people who've lost that. part of the early script of Alien 3 on a planet made of wood. Gotta read that someday. Excuse me? Part of that early script of Alien 3 on a planet made of wood? Interesting. Wait, what? Sounds interesting. Yeah. No sun adds some special nutrition and psychological challenges on top of the cold. Oh, dude. Yeah, I think you picked a good one too. Like, no sun is a really good place to start for an interesting story development. A planet with no tomorrow. Fuck, that's weird. Yeah, that's scary, man. Oh, fuck. Um, I don't know. Alien Resurrection is the best action comedy I saw from Alien franchise. Quite original. Well, you certainly got the catchy title. That's really good. Yeah, A Planet with No Tomorrow. I was already in talks with somebody who voice act for Death of Hope, and the lore book comes first, um, but it may branch out to become tabletop. So you can play out the scenarios of the different campaigns mentioned in the first release. Isaac Asimov from Nightfall, they had something like 3 suns in every 1,000 years. They gave an eclipse and they go berserk and burn everything in a panic. That's Dead Space, isn't it? I guess I got thrown off by Isaac. Loading back of the ladder to empty his pistols while screaming like a maniac. I didn't knew about the story of Isaac Asimov. Yeah, that's the thing too. Like, I had to. I'm glad I didn't settle on a solid name for the universe just yet. It's named Sathus just because that's where everything's taking place for the focus. But the initial thing was star gods, just because the stars were being worshipped in this area. But then when you look online, you have to be mindful if it's taken or not. Apparently, there's a video game out there called Star Gods, so I didn't want to want to do that. How long have I been streaming for? About 2 hours. Oh, that's roughly, it's pretty normal. You know, one thing that was really bothering me about doing Death of Hope, I've mentioned this a lot of times, but I am a fantasy guy before I am a sci-fi guy. And Warhammer Fantasy was my entry point into the hobby. And because 40K was a mix of sci-fi and fantasy, that's why I got into sci-fi. But I prefer to have more fantasy element because of my bias um, towards fantasy, which is why this looks the way it does. With cyclopeans, ritualistic shit, stuff that is part of like a dark age. But at the same time, there's technology. So I think that's one of the things that really make me fulfilled by doing this project is having the sci-fi and having the fantasy more dominant over the sci-fi aspects. Which I mean, there's an abundance of both, but visually, like in terms of races, I wanted to make them based off of fantasy tales and stuff. Like there are different versions of Muctgar across these sectors of where Sathus is located, and you can call those branches of Muctgar like ogres or trolls. Like that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. And if you don't know what Muctgar is, I've been saying that a while. It's the Cyclopean race that's in the image that I'm painting. Plan with North Morrow was kind of done. Sathus lost colony of star gods. Mark, did you ever have a look in the All Tomorrows book? I haven't, no. In fact, I've had many things on my reading list. I just don't have time for, man. But it does ring a bell. Did you mention that in another stream? Like I'm more for reading books because of all the stuff that I'm trying to get done. I've just had to accept audiobook. I mean, audiobook isn't bad. It's just that when I read a book, I catch more information, I guess. That's just my preference. And you know what'll be interesting to see with this IP when it's released? It's just kind of like, you know how it's easier to form a community when I guess everyone knows the same thing. Um, I think it's just way too much knowledge out there to sometimes fully enjoy a universe. Um, Everything we need to know is already given to us, but sometimes we find ways to get to that information without having to go there in an organic way through the hobby or whatever. Um, so it'll be cool, like, people will get a fresh start at a universe, not know everything, and kind of speculate. Like kind of like we used to do. So. All right, come on. I'm slowing down here because I'm yapping away, which isn't a bad thing. I like talking to you guys. Just I was hoping to get this wall done. I did, in short, a race called the Q used genetic manipulation to create millions of human species without sentience, and the book talks about their way back into human level intelligence. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, that sounds awesome, man. I mean, I'd love to read it. Like I said, I've been trying to. I have a book is for Warhammer Fantasy. It's the Conrad saga. I've cracked it open like 3 times trying to read the first fucking chapter, and my mind is just too. It's too distant. Like I get sidetracked. Like a couple pages in, I'm kind of like my. It looks like someone poured battery acid into my head because I'm just kind of thinking of Sathus and the things I'm supposed to be doing with it. But then like the pull on this project or on what I had on Death of Hope was so strong that I'm just perpetually distracted. A bigger hitter in 40K lore did a well-researched video on how Saturnine. You mean Exo Armor? Exo Armor isn't a thing in the lore. Fans simply said this hope has one, so it's Saturnine. Terminator Daddy Armor, you nailed it as lore. Your universe is going to be a welcome breath of fresh air. Thanks, man. You sold the Terminator model, though, didn't they? You just revised the relic armor into a more complete armor, I thought. They sold the Terminator model. Just revised the relic armor into a more complete armor. It was actually Exo Armor. Yeah, it's Exo Armor. Of all the research I've done on Exo Armor, nothing ever came up of Saturnine. But it's widely known as Saturnine, so I guess that's how we identify it. I mean, I've never really gone and tried to correct anybody on it because it's not really worth it, I mean, to me for a while, even myself, I just called it Saturnine. But when I started doing my research on it, I'm like, nothing fucking states it's Saturnine. Even when I got the miniature, it just said EXO on it. on the bottom. And when I got the catalog, like the physical catalog, it said earlier version of Terminator armor, the 3 different types of Terminator armor, and then it just showed up as EXO. Yeah, Luton did a great job in that video. I gave him some render shots for the opening, and he did a great job putting those together. Look at the detail I'm putting into this ground. So it's not going to waste because it'll be blown up into like I'll have posters and stuff for people, so it's not going to waste. But, like, this isn't even like fully rendered yet in terms of what I've done to it. And when you pull back, it's like but I really want to make the person look at a picture and almost feel like they fell through it and they're now exploring it, okay, they see what's in the foreground or the main focus, but then what's over there? Oh, that's the passage that was mentioned in the story on the page next to it. That's what they're describing, or that's what he's describing. Oh, there's that city that he described in the page before. There's the altar. I want things in an image to mirror exactly what you've read, not just be like, okay, here's the. I feel like I'm repeating myself now, and my mind is going mush. We're 2 hours into the stream, and I don't know anymore. Did a Black Flower book or fan book introduce the term? To be honest, I don't know. There's 2 videos you can go to, I guess. There's Leaky Cheese did a video a long time ago on it, and Luton's video, and between the 2, you'll probably get info on that. There's that. There are actually an audiobook on YouTube that it was a 40-minute video talking about all the Tomorrow and stuff. This is how all Tomorrows became popular all of a sudden. Do you recommend I look at that one, Brasilis? I mean, considering the fact that I don't have time to read it, unfortunately. I mean, I have the physical copy of the Conrad saga, so there's no fucking way I'm gonna get an audiobook, because what the fuck do I have the book for? But since I don't have that one, I could totally check it out. Did the black guy continuous process all the stuff in it? Yeah. My partner, she's the painter between the 2 of us. Her main focus, what she does, is business, but she's also an artist too. So she does paintings, silicone dolls. Those are actually really fucking interesting. I didn't know you could paint on silicone the way she did. And to put it into perspective, silicone dolls, kind of like what they do in Hollywood with silicone, like fake faces or a fake head, and then all the hours put into like weaving all the hair into the head. Oh, dude, if you're an artist, you'll really appreciate the process of the silicone making. It's really cool. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to do certain types of art at home because we don't have the proper masks. Because when we were wanting to get filters, by the time that happened, the pandemic broke out and everyone just bought filters. On the corner of each page to a different stage of the process. The one-eyed, three iris bloke from the other stream. I can't remember the last time I saw a flip book. That would be funny. On the corner of each page to a flip book. Jesus. I haven't drawn a flip book since I was like 12 years old. I can't imagine doing a flip book with the amount of fucking detail I put into this. That's a project on its own. Just to do a corner thing, that'd be interesting though. I'd prefer to do it if it was right directly on the paper. Having to sort out each frame on digital stuff, I don't want to think about it. I know you just sort it with page numbers and stuff, but you know, that is an interesting idea, though. A flip book. Oh man, I like that. It's awesome. That's a Rob Button. That's a man that can paint on silicone. Yeah, it's crazy, and it's limited in its colors, but to artists that are used to doing it, and you have to bake it every time for each layer. Yeah. I liked watching her do it. The process is really cool. Like for me, I can paint somewhat, but you know, I'm more of because I'm so used to the pencil and pen. I never got into coloring. It just wasn't. It wasn't as fun to me than doing line art. I won't sue you for a piece of the pie if you do it. It's a great idea though. A flip book at the corner of the lore book. You got me thinking about it, but it's more work than I need to do. I already have. So I'm trying. My goal is 100 pages. Obviously, it can fluctuate between 100 to 110, but my goal is 100. The first book would be called Sathus, and depending on how that goes, I can work on the next one, which is Narcos. So there would be 3 books based on the 3 planets that all this takes place in, and the expanded universe being just kind of like background lore within every book. You know. But it really depends on the first one goes. I'm trying to make it so that even if I don't get past the first book, like the first release is good. The first release is good enough. Like I don't want to just kind of shoe horned myself into a corner where I'm kind of obligated to do another one. I want to be able to decide whether or not that's something that can be done based on how the first one went. But I tried to do these in a timely manner because when you have something like Patreon, you don't want to. I don't try to take my time. I know I should, but I can spend weeks on one image, and then I'll never get it done. So I have to put some kind of level of fire under my ass, and Patreon does that for sure. Oh, I'm getting hungry. I'm getting to that point where it's just like, man, that meal should have been eaten. I'm out, Mark. Have a good one. All right, man. Take care. Thanks for dropping by. You're always welcome. I think you have to type a 79 to an image search engine for so long now that even being incorrect, it's just accepted. Say Saturn 9 and you think of that magnificent beast. Yeah, well, that's the thing, too. It's just, it's been basically, yeah, it's renamed. The armor that became associated with it, the exo armor, didn't have a proper name associated with it. Delving into forerunners from a decade ago sounds like the transition from lore to models was messy as fuck. Yeah, well, and that's the difference between the GW's early process and what I'm creating here is I have a more solid direction of where I want this to go. Whereas for them, they were still trying to figure out what was going to happen overall. But I guess that's what happens when there's that many minds on a project too. You know, whereas for me, it's just myself, and for the other person here, Aubrey Celeste, he's a writer, so he can. I think there is a benefit to being able to do the legwork as solo in the beginning, at least. But for them, it was mostly when they first started out. They were with Ralph Partha and stuff like that. There was just a lot of. It was more focused towards like D&D and all that, and just kind of like random adventures and stuff. I wanted to get myself some Ralph Partha minis, but they just didn't. They're not doing it for me when I line them up with some of the CC, the Citadel models. And for me, I like some kind of. I know that the model designs vary between each one, but I like some kind of consistency within my army, especially if it's supposed to be like an army, right? So, 40K as well was just a sci-fi expansion of Fantasy, wasn't it? I think the first chainsword wielding guy was called Chainsaw Man or something. He was like he was basically a ripoff of oh fuck, what's his name? Jeez. I forgot. Damn it, he's the guy with the shotgun and a chainsaw for an arm. Fucking love that movie. Oh, and the TV series they came out with is great. I actually enjoyed it. I thought I was gonna hate it, but then they had the same actor, so I was like, okay, it might be alright, and I ended up enjoying it. Chainsaw Man. I don't know. I don't think it was Chainsaw Man. Like that's kind of dumb, but it was something else. Like it looked like a scout with a chainsaw and a gun. Evil Dead. Thank you, man. Fuck. Yes. Yeah. It's just so out there. But I'm used to the movies, but when they came out with a TV series, I was like, okay, this is basically along the same lines, so I like it. Has anyone ever seen the mech and biomech artwork in Shadow of the Beast? It's spiky and excellent like this, very different, but some similarities. Uh, no, I haven't. I thought The Evil Dead was hilariously silly, but then I saw the sequel. I mean, it is silly. Like, I never saw it to take itself seriously, ever. Like, I enjoy serious sci-fi, but I do have a side of me that enjoys some of the silly shit that's out there. If it's silly by nature, I can really get into it. But if it's like if it's trying to be serious and it's trying to be silly at the same time, it's harder for me to take it seriously. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Shop smart. This is my broomstick. Give me some sugar, baby. Yeah, yeah. Oh, son of a bitch. This is taking forever. Look how much more I have to do. Like, go all the way over here and all the way up there. I haven't even. This is just like the first floor. I haven't even like begun down there. I'll be doing some webbing down there as well as some bones. Um, kind of like that's where they dispose their meals when they're done with them, and then it's dissolved by the acid. This is like a shallow acid pool, but and then what happens is um, it's like stomach acid, and then these webbings they act as they all, not only are they like a network or no sorry not only are they like used for holding structures together and shit, but they're also I have a layer open that shouldn't be open. There you go. They also act like fungus. See, as you can see here, the veins coming out, the black veins, they act like a fungus that weaves through these webs, and they would supply nutrients to different parts of the forest. Like I'm talking about fungus in real life, so that's the way I'm able to implement that in here. Holy fuck, I'm gonna have a sore throat. And yet, you don't get Alphabia's take on 40k. Just poking at you. Yeah, I'm not into um, that stuff, but if you're into it, that's fine. It's just not for me. Well, it's more like it's fun to have a funny take on something. I think for me, it's the over. It's kind of like, don't go full, retard, and then it's generated a community that's just become full artard. I'm gonna get hunted down for saying retard. Jesus. Information network like fungus as well. Mycelium. Yes, there you go, mycelium. The complete over the top distortion of the characters. No, it's just generated a part of the fandom where they know nothing about the universe, but certain things done with the characters in some of those works don't really reflect those characters to that extent, it's kind of taken it to the nth degree. Also, I'm not. I never got the whole yelling thing. It's not. It's just not. It's not within my palate. I mean, I like laughing as the next guy. Okay, I'll tell you this. I enjoyed the first season of his stuff. That's when I first saw it. But then it's just overdone over time, for me anyway, so. Yeah, best manner works inspired that everybody. Knife from Spain. Hello. Yeah, TTS isn't for me, but as long as you guys enjoy it, it's all that matters. For me, it's more of just it becoming the norm. Like that version of Warhammer always being like that, and then everything else just follows up with a meme that goes back to that. For me, as somebody who's developing my own universe, I put all this work into it, like all the thought that I've already shared with you guys into every single detail. And then to be put into such a narrow way of thinking for what I've done, that's where I sympathize with the lore of the universe that we fell in love with. That's kind of like the thought process that I have with it, which is why I have issue with it, even though obviously Warhammer is supposed to be over the top of everything else. There is a side of it that, yeah, you do take to. When I say serious, I don't mean like, hey, sit up straight kind of shit. I mean like, when I say a serious universe, I mean like one that's fleshed out, one that has its feet grounded, and can be taken to, and it has many possibilities of serious tones that could propel it forward in creativity and storytelling. But then it's just dumbed down by that stuff, and that's just kind of what's bothered me, is that. Sorry for my English. Your English is fine. Don't worry about it. I suppose for me it provided an interesting contrast because I knew the original lore first. His stuff evolved into more of a fan fiction where the BS world tried to fix itself. Oh, for me, my um, contrast. For me, my definition of contrast would be another level, another universe. Like I like really dark shit. Well, not really dark shit, but I guess from what I've seen, darker than what most people are used to anyway. Um, I told you before, Pokemon. Like that's my fucking go-to for contrast. Like that helps balance my fucking sick mind of pulled skin and flesh torn apart and all that other shit. I enjoyed a couple TTS, but it's not for me. But I like it because it's silly and silly has a place. Yeah, silly has a place. That's the thing. And then over time, it became more than just a place. It became ingrained so much within the fandom and with newer fans that that's all they could do. Like every forum I was on, man, it was always a meme. You know, there's no deep discussions about anything. It's just kind of like, here's funny, and that's all this is. It's all funny. And I'm just like, well, fuck, man. But, you know, if I was in this for the comedy, I wouldn't be in this hobby. Or sorry, if I was presented this hobby and it was just a comedy, I would not be in it. I'd go somewhere else. Because of more or less how serious stuff under it. And I mean, we're not kicking you guys for liking TTS. It's just more like, for me, it's not individuals. It's more of the overall mentality of the general population kind of creating. Because if you look at it this way, I mean, recently that animation that GW released, it was filled with, like, it was meme. Like, it was a joke. And to me, with all the stuff I've been saying all these years about the fandom influencing the company, it's true. And it is shown in that animation. And people are like, where's the grim dark? And to me, I wasn't surprised because the community in general, as a mass, have cultivated this silly side of the fandom to the point where it's the norm. So GW is now catering to that. And people are surprised. And I wasn't. I was not surprised at all. But that's what it is. And, you know, there's theories saying that, oh, they're trying to copyright memes now. No, they're switching because the culture nowadays is meme everywhere, all the time, every day, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it's not, you know, I'm getting all worked up here, but it's just, to me, it's just seeing things degrade over time, you know, kind of makes me wonder why people want immortality sometimes. Fuck. No wonder why in, like, movies, the older creatures are kind of grumpy. You know, I love Pokemon, the only children's show that can put a positive spin on a society based around cockfighting. Yeah. 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 They should just done a couple episodes, highlight other bits of 40K on other channels. Did the first time invasion. Is how far they went out of canon, the idea of the Emperor. So that's the thing too, right? You're right, Sailor, correct. They went way outside canon. Although I will say this though, I don't like TTS, but I'm not happy with what Alphabius has had to do recently just because of GW's new IP. Although I don't like his work, he is part of the community, so it is sad to see that kind of thing happen, especially to somebody within the community whose work I don't like, but he's part of the community. It sucks. The bits where they played full on games under the rules, and then animation. Then once was nice, but the last one, the parodies, or you get where you're coming from. When we say, "Oh, this looks like this," or "that looks like that," with what you're creating, it's not saying it looks like. It's just that you have hit on not nostalgia on something we enjoy. That's true. Yeah, that's true. Well, also, like I was saying, back then, and even you can say it's nostalgia, but it's a mix of things. Back then, psychologically, we knew how to draw people in certain ways, and through artistry too. And in this case, I'm drawing you into the picture. I'm drawing you into the world, and sometimes it's subconscious, sometimes it's not. Sometimes you're just looking for more details. Sometimes people just skim over the page, but once in a while, you're going to get somebody who was our age that did not get into the way we did back then and explore the page like we did back then. You know, we've lost that art. You know, the same way we have lost most of most of our human race has lost the ability to talk to each other normally. You know, like teenagers, and not everybody, but like a lot of teenager stuff, they're so awkward. They don't know how to like carry themselves around people, or they don't know certain nuances in conversations and how to pick up on certain things. You know, it's all lost because they've all been online. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. So yes, it may mean nostalgia, but the thing is, the thing that we were used to nostalgically were based on artistic principles that actually helped our subconscious get drawn into whatever the fuck we were looking at. That's what I'm talking about, you know? It's just like, and we've lost that, you know? It's frustrating because everything's being dumbed down and everything's about money. And with everything being about money, now you have very simplistic shit to the point where no passion was put into it. Yeah. I mean, everyone should know how to differentiate memes from actual stuff. You say that, but you'd be surprised. Being in the position of Death of Hope, I've seen a whole fucking spectrum enough to create a data sheet for people. Had I thought of this conversation and wrote down exactly what people spoke to me about or spoke to each other about. You know, you'd be surprised how many people through Death of Hope I discovered were like, oh, I thought that this universe was just funny, but after seeing your movie, I realized there's more to it than just, jokes and stuff. I need to go and pick up a book. Like, you would think people could differentiate memes with actual stuff because it's projection. You're thinking that because you're smart enough to do that, but not everyone can. And I'm not saying people are stupid. I'm just saying that they live within their own bubble, and they kind of stay there until someone pops it. You know, I suppose the normies ultimately ruined it. I don't immerse myself in the meme culture heavily, so I don't get hit with that stuff. For me, you had to proper grimdark lore, the 4chan level fun, and an Alfarius man is based somewhat off the 4chan spirit. It's weird for me not to keep that separate. I don't know much about the 1D 4chan stuff. I do know that I did see it at some point, but I didn't go back to it. Like, it's a different community. it's not me, man. I once said Pokemon are terraforming biotools to expand humanity through the galaxy, and humans suck by pitting them against each other and hunting lost tech. It opened up discussion, which was fun. Yeah, I don't know why Pokemon are the slaves of their universe. It's really weird. Humans who don't have any ability other than throwing fucking acorns at each other, or acorns at animals, are the ones that enslave. Actually, did you know the early episodes of the first season of Pokemon, Team Rocket used guns, and they had to change that. So after that, you never saw guns in Pokemon, but they had pistols and shit. Yeah. Growing up as a kid with near unlimited access to the internet, I can safely say children should be prevented from using too much technology. Let them make that mistake once they've actually grown up. Oh yeah, I know. Like, yeah. Well, I'm not going to sit here and give a parenting talk because I don't have kids, but I have ideas on what they should be doing. But I don't really have the right to say that. But yeah, I think kids should be given technology at a specific stage. You know, yes, there's a lot of stuff online that they can learn, but there's so much fucking stupid shit. There's also more memes than TTS. Yes, so that's why I didn't get into. I guess memes is just not something I really got into. I like memes, I can't say that it's not something I got into because now that I think, when I'm sitting here thinking about it, I do my own type of memes, but it's not. I'm not overstepping the boundaries to a point where I'm creating an entire fandom out of the memes. I'm just kind of like, oh, that reminds me of this, and I'll just place that image there, and people at work laugh, but you know, that's about my extent of being part of the meme culture, is just kind of putting images up on things that are within context of everyone's knowledge. Armed tame rocket would be way more to me than Meowth. The weirdest part with Pokemon is that the Pokemon seemed, I saw it, fighting each other and sometimes ask to be caught by a trainer. It's almost like they enjoy it. Yeah, it's super weird, man. But, you know, fuck. I'm just kind of like, I think I'm done, man. I took such a, big breath from this. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm gonna go up here and do something with this. Because I wanted to get to him for a while. I just wanted to get to the wall. So we get parts of the wall done before getting on with this guy's existence. So let's carry on. 4chan had a solid feel of love and care for the original Grimdark combined with their silly jokes. Interesting. Do you plan or have the idea of selling minis of Sathus, or you want to remain only in the visual media? No, there will be miniatures. In the end, there will be miniatures. Also, when I fanboy, really enjoyed part one. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, part two was supposed to tie everything in part one together. So if people were still kind of lost in what they were looking at least part two would provide all the context they needed. Um, but like I said, I'll be doing a stream where I kind of sit down and do story time about part two so that people can have some closure. I don't know when I'm going to do that yet, but it's going to have to take some time because that's not something I can just sit down and rush. Treat to catch one of this long, everyone in chat. Night all. Alright, Red Wolf, take care. Yeah, thanks for coming by, man. Will Sathus has something like the warp or the forces of some form of power like that? No, so Sathus, the creatures of this universe, they're aliens. They're animals. Some of them sentient, some of them just doing their thing. Some of them, and it's all perspective on how you view hell. To ancient humans, a lot of this stuff you would consider hell or hellish. But to their nature, it's just them existing, right? I'm going to talk with people more this time. Yeah, declare yes, it has magic, but people don't understand it yet. It's a mysterious and a sinister unknown thing, and they only believe in science. Yeah, pretty much. There are stabs in this, like staffs, sorry. So there is quote unquote wizards, shamans, druids, you know, but just translated into a different form in this so that it fits the context of everything that's going on and where they're at technologically. There are rituals of every kind. Lots of humans in the cities we live in today would be considered hell if you think about it. Well, yeah, you bring someone from a different, yeah, and especially if you bring in someone from a different time period, right? I think what I'll do to relax tonight. My partner's still sleeping. She had a rough day the other day, so she's just kind of been sleeping all day. I'm not waking her up. Um, who knows? Maybe if my buddy's online, we'll just play Vermintide or something just to tie the day off. Yeah, someone was asking me one time, how do you find the time to do all this stuff? And it's kind of the same thing I tell everyone else is that, it really depends where you are in life and what your priorities are. You know, um, my priorities outside of work is just being creative, um, wanting to release this. Um, if it was something else, I think I'd be more normal. But because of Death of Hope and transitioning to this, um, I'm kind of, it's almost like obsession. But if you want to do something, you'll make time for it. No matter what, you'll make time for it. It really depends on how badly you want to do it. For me, it was an easy transition because Death of Hope I was already like way up here with Death of Hope. And then when Death of Hope stopped, I still had this energy. So I'm like, fuck it, I'll do my own thing. And so I'm up here with it. So, but to get there without having Death of Hope would have been really hard. It would have been really hard to start this because if you understand how much work goes into something like this, it's like, fuck, I don't even want to think about it. But because I was already up there with energy, I was like, all right, let's do it. So here I am. I'll do it while I can because I just can't wait to go back to normal, man. One of the normal things I have gotten back into is the gym. Um, we recently moved, so we have a gym downstairs that we go to every day now. And we're just trying to get back into our routine, but it'll help with my back since I kind of sit on my ass for 18 hours a day. What do you think? Oh shit! I mean, just Stone Age would be kind of dull. I think. Well, actually, the Stone Age would be kind of creepy because you'd see things alive then that don't exist now. I think Twitter alone qualifies as hell. The internet in general is akin to the warp. Yeah, Twitter is hell, man. I was talking to my friend this morning, and he was actually giving me someone else's thoughts on how Reddit had portrayed me. And he's just kind of like, he was asking my friend, he's like, so how is this guy like in real life? Is he an absolute douchebag? And my friend had to like tell him like, no, don't believe what they say, Because a lot of people like you guys like been sitting in the stream. You know how passionate I can get, but I guess when you're typing online, you don't get this interaction. So sometimes you think I'm pissed off or something like that, or I might be being too much. But this is kind of how I am. But when I'm typing, other people read it as me being a complete asshole. I don't know. It sucks that there's that disconnect. And furthermore, they start to circle jerk their ideas. Okay, imagine. Oh shit, you got. What do you think about the lore development in the Siege of Terra? I haven't even gotten into it, man. I haven't even gotten into it. That's a whole different commitment. I already was saying earlier I couldn't even get into my Conrad Saga book because I'm too sidetracked with all this shit. The Stone Age can be very interesting if you get into primitive megalithic building techniques, especially if you go full force with lashing and some of the more esoteric theories. Yeah. Not of theirs, different kinds of funerals, large predators, natural disasters, that I think depending on how it's done. Watching someone nap flint wouldn't be entertaining, but fighting a mammoth. Yeah. There will have a Tau race in Sathus would be a group that's less grimdark than the rest of the nations around it. Well, a lot, well, there's not really, I mean, grimdark is usually found in, like, the recesses of parts of the universe. So the overarching feel of the universe is not supposed to be grimdark in its existence, but you can find it. Um, you know, will there be a Tau race in Sathus? Nothing like that. No. I mean, as a group, vastly less grimdark than the rest of the races and nations around it. I think it would have to be the humans for the cinematic. The ones that have degraded over time and have been giving birth instead of creating humans. I think that's the closest you can get to like a normal. Um, it would be kind of cool. Consider how it felt to be the guy in charge of explaining the world to other primitives and having to deal with droughts, lightning, season changes, etc. You'll never let me live down that misunderstanding now, will you, Mark? No. That's not what I was talking about. But it's related. It's related. That was just an example of just the other stuff that I've been exposed to. Spending more than 10 minutes a day on Reddit and book face combined leads to mental issues. Oh, I fucking bet it does. You know, the human mind is so fragile, man. Like, a lot of things that involve someone's, mental state, it's crazy. And a lot of people are just not ready to face what's out there online because reality is different from interaction online. You can live your entire life, not interacting with the real world, but when you go online, you start feeling things that you didn't feel outside because now everyone online is ready to smash your head in without any consequences. Whereas when you're out there, confrontations you have, it's done in front of your face, and either it's sorted out or you punch each other out. But when it comes to the internet, it stays there, and if you're silly about it, like I was last year, if you have issues with like a video like that staying out there, on someone else's channel, it can really fuck you up if you're not okay with that. But for me, it was more like a wake-up call. So for me, having that video out there is kind of like, yeah, I deserve that. Human drama, yeah. Siege of Terror is painful to read. Good luck. Oh my god. Yeah, right? You'll never let me live down. So, you can't have a good book without it. Human drama, yeah. Oh no, yes. If you think Reddit and Facebook browsing is bad, don't even think about going to 4chan. If you're not pulled in permanently, you come out a changed man. Actually, last year when I was going through my fucking, fragile state, I was linked something in 4chan, and because someone was, they talk smack with no consequences, right? So yeah, there was some. I was already dealing with stuff in life, and then it's not fun when you're dealing with external shit, and then you see stuff like that thrown at you uh, behind your back. It's like, what the fuck? Um, don't worry, I kind of scolded my friend for sending me that. I'm like, dude, what the fuck's wrong with you? Stop sending me shit. That makes me feel shitty. I've seen enough of it already. In terms of hate and toxic stuff, no different than Twitter, actually, just more censored in its language. I think what makes 4chan worse is the anonymous bit, I think. Because people on Twitter, it says their name and all that, right? Like, of course they can make like a fake account and all that. But, oh no, Mark, what board did the sucker you into? Was it? Where did the interweb touch you? I don't know. It's fucked up. Yeah. But, it happens. Man, I was really going to show something with part 2. I really was. Fuck. It's all good. I'll, like I said, I'll talk about it on a different day. Tie it all up. I was supposed to, sign off, but now I'm in this slouching position where it's kind of like, alright, let's see how long I can last, but no, I don't like that. Because it's supposed to be like bags under the eyes, so let's make it that way. Glad to see you working on something you're passionate about. Thanks, man. 4chan is relatively decent in my experience, except for there is 7 invested groups all propagated. Yeah, you're gonna find sanctuaries definitely, but I think that for those of us who don't know these safe areas, I almost said safe space. Fuck sakes. For those of us who don't know these good forums, when we look at 4chan, it's usually directly to the negative shit. Some people who complain about safe spaces. You don't demand one online, it's just not possible. A safe space is like a private chat. That's as safe as it'll get. And even then you're being monitored. fuck am I talking about? Jesus Christ. Oh, you know what I don't miss about doing like the early parts of Death of Hope? Okay, so I have, you guys know, like I have all these fucking opinions, right? So when I did, when I started Death of Hope, I was already like at a boiling point with just kind of like, oh fuck, there's no more grim dark, right? So that was me. And as I progressed with Death of Hope, I got into this fucking mindset where I just became toxic. And I think it just comes with the fucking, like, if you're not prepared for it, you can just fucking degrade. And that's what happened to me. Um, I got so focused on the negative shit that I just became negative, period. You know, like, I got so passionate, so defensive about what was supposed to be original, and I fucking lost myself in the process completely. And so after I had that quote-unquote dramatic moment, I took some time off from the internet, pretty much. I was still working on Death of Hope, but I took some time off from, like, the web and had, like, a cleansing moment where I just kind of, like, was able to look at myself and be like, what the fuck are you doing? So I've calmed down a lot since then in terms of, you know, my extreme way of thinking. It was just something that I kind of picked up from the internet's feel on fandoms in general. You know. Oh, now I'm just kind of like sitting here talking about anything and everything. Origami is good, even if sometimes a Fall Guy mistypes it. Just got done watching Death of Hope. That was sick, man. Great work. Thanks, dude. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Brought up all your bitterness and became immersed in it. Another convert joined us. Oh yeah, oh yeah. It was. I don't like it because it was in such a heightened state of stupidity, and yeah, it was ridiculous. You know. So even though like I'm not like trying to be a douche or anything, I did come across as that because of that. You know. So I can see where that kind of relates. It tells a story that your mental state improved by being away from the internet. Actually, for the rest of the year, I don't know why people don't like talking about this stuff, but I don't mind. Um, I I actually had to take heavy medication for the end of the year. Not from what happened in terms of the drama online, although it did contribute it because it just added a bunch of shit that I did not need. Um, it was just multiple things in general coming all at once, so I needed to have heavy medication just to function normally, which was great because instead of having to worry about how my fucking human body was fucking reacting to life, I could focus on work instead of fucking sitting there just, you know, being stupid about it. Sometimes the darkest parts of people bring out their best work. Lots of artists and writers go through the greatest strain whilst making something. Not to say that's a good thing, of course. Yeah, I mean, Death of Hope was built on pure, bitterness. And it kind of reflected that in part one, if you think about it. But it was mostly just grim dark. But if you put the two things together, it's like, yeah. Yeah, I was saddened when I heard there wasn't an episode 2 or 3. I'll definitely keep an eye open for your future stuff. I found out about it from Major Kill and immediately looked it up. Cool, man. Yeah, for someone who watched it and you wanted to look further into it, yeah, I did talk about that. I will be making a video talking about what was supposed to happen in part 2, and that if you got lost in part 1, part 2 would have kind of tied everything together. But I'll have to do it at some point, but I can't really say when I will. But it'll just be me sitting here talking about it with some work in progress clips of when it was in production. Hey, Steve. Oh, fuck, I'm losing my voice. I'm going to sound like I had a shit ton of cough syrup last night. Tomorrow. Well, especially as a good example of being immersed in negative stuff. Sometimes it's so good with other boards for finding raw data on stuff, but it's like dipping your brain into sewage to filter. Yeah, I know. Sorry to hear it, man. Glad you're doing a lot better. Always enjoy your work and always will. Yeah, thanks. I mean, it's fuck, it happens, but I mean, I was never one for thinking about ever taking medication, but it did wonders because I needed to stay focused um, in my job and at home and making sure things didn't fucking fall apart. So it's actually it was great. What was interesting about those things is it makes you not feel anything. You don't feel shit. So when I took them, any problems I had was basically gone. I'm like, man, this is awesome. It's an interesting thing about that stuff. It's funny, like, they say emotion or whatever is what makes people human, but when you take those meds and it takes them away, then what are you? I don't know. Sorry, here. Okay, sweet 8, man. No rush. People have lives. Yeah, emotional or physically. Physically. Or no, sorry, emotionally. What am I talking about? Emotionally. Yeah. Wouldn't that be weird if I took something that prevented me from physically feeling anything? Well, I guess emotion is also a physical thing. It's a bunch of chemicals that are released into your body to feel a certain way. I know what you mean, though. I'm just being a smart ass. So yeah, there's just like this mass just sticking to the side of the wall here. Okay, I think I'm done, guys. I was supposed to get this done. This whole section here. And what did I get done? I didn't even get the trail done. I only got this much of the trail done. Let me draw it here. I only got this much of the trail. It was supposed to be the whole trail, but I only got, right, the settings I have is only black and white, so I can't show you. There's just that, and I mean, I couldn't even say this was done. Like, that's like work in progress. Fuck. It was nice talking to you guys, though, that's for sure. It kind of makes you flatline. Didn't feel much emotion when I took them. Yeah, it does make you flatline. But you know what? It's better than dealing with that shit at that moment, for sure. Especially if you need to focus. You know, um, it actually made me understand more why people who have schizophrenia or other mental illness, that shit is so important to them because they can't function like the rest of us. And to function like the rest of us, they need to take that stuff. So it was an interesting insight. Is a crutch. You use it to keep going when your leg breaks. Yeah, but you gotta let go at the time. Yeah, it depends, right? Mine was temporary, but you I do know people who actually deal with things that they can't wean off of it. So they can be normal with it. I feel like a child who did wrong now for trying to make you talk more. Why? How come? I don't care talking about it. It doesn't bother me. It's not something I feel like. I understand there's a thing where people want to keep that stuff personal. I don't give a fuck. Um, there's only 11 of you guys here. If it was 200 of you guys, I wouldn't even talk about that stuff. Good night. It was fun. I enjoyed my stay. All right, man. Take care. See you next time. But yeah, I gotta go now too because my throat feels like fucking. I swallowed a snake and it bit my fucking throat on the way down. So I gotta get something to eat and rest my throat from. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna sound really stupid tomorrow. Like my partner's gonna ask what the hell happened. I'll be like this. Hey, you want some breakfast? Hey man, you do great work. Try to stay positive. Don't beat yourself up. Oh no, dude, I'm fine now. Like it's fine. I'm doing way better now. Like I've gotten back to normal. But yeah, it was a hard climb back, but it's fine. Look what didn't get done. Look at what I didn't get done. I was gonna get all this stuff done, and now it's unfinished. Just making jokes. Yeah. See you for now. All right, man. Take care. Thanks for stopping by, Sailor. Did you get a chance to try? No, I can't even think of alcohol right now. My throat's so fucked. I'm currently still weaning off the medication, so alcohol is definitely not on the menu, for sure. But I will try it as soon as I'm completely done with it. You know. All right, guys. Goodbyes can take forever, so I'm just going to stop it here. Thanks for chatting and watching me generate cliff faces and some stalactites and fucking stuff. Yeah, don't mix. Alright, guys, I'm gonna end it there. It's gonna take forever for me to say goodbye because I'll keep reading your shit and then we'll get into another conversation and we'll all go back to hanging out here for another 40 minutes. And I would like that, but if my voice is better, okay, I'm already taking for a ride.